On October 15th, 2023, 3 days after my funeral, my son-in-law Derek Thompson stood in my daughter's kitchen and said these exact words. "Sarah, I want a divorce. I've already filed the papers." My name is Mavis Reed. I'm 65 years old. Well, I was 65 years old when I died of pancreatic cancer. But before I left this earth, I made sure to protect my baby girl from the man who married her for all the wrong reasons. And I want to tell you my story. If you're listening from somewhere far away, drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this has traveled. And please, stay with me until the end. Because this isn't just about money or betrayal. This is about a mother's love that reached across the veil between life and death to save her daughter one last time. Let me take you back 6 months before I died. Back to the moment everything changed. April 12th, 2023. Dr. Rebecca Peterson's office always smelled like lavender and antiseptic. I'd been coming to her for 15 years, ever since I moved to Houston from Accra, Ghana, back in 1985. She knew me, knew I didn't scare easy, knew I'd raised my daughter Sarah alone after my husband Thomas died of a heart attack when Sarah was just 9 years old. Knew I'd worked double shifts as a nurse at Memorial Hermann Hospital for 32 years to give that girl everything she needed. So when Dr. Peterson sat down across from me with that look on her face, the one we nurses use when we have to deliver bad news, I already knew. "Mavis," she said, and her voice was soft, too soft. The imaging results came back. I folded my hands in my lap. Steady, always steady. "Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. It's already spread to your liver." The words hung in the air like humidity before a Houston thunderstorm. Heavy, inescapable. "How long?" I asked. 6 to 9 months, maybe less. I'm so sorry." 6 to 9 months. I looked down at my hands. These hands had changed bedpans and held dying patients. These hands had braided Sarah's hair every Sunday morning. These hands had built a life from nothing when I came to America with $400 in my pocket and a 2-year-old daughter on my hip. 6 to 9 months to make sure those hands left something behind that would protect my baby when I couldn't anymore. "Thank you, Dr. Peterson," I said, standing up. "I appreciate your honesty." She looked surprised. "Mavis, we should discuss treatment options. Chemotherapy might give me 3 more months of being sick." "No, thank you." I picked up my purse. "I've been a nurse for over 3 decades. I know what stage 4 pancreatic cancer means. I'd rather have 6 good months than 9 bad ones." "What about Sarah? Does she know?" "Not yet," I said. And then, because Dr. Peterson had been good to me all these years, I added, "I need to arrange some things first. Make sure she's protected." Dr. Peterson nodded slowly. She understood. We both knew what I meant, even if I didn't say it out loud yet. I drove home in my 2015 Honda Accord, paid off, no car note, because I never believed in owing money if I could help it. The radio was playing gospel music, but I turned it off. I needed to think. Sarah, my beautiful Sarah, 38 years old, elementary school teacher, married to Derek Thompson for 12 years. No children yet, though Derek kept pushing for it. Sarah always said she wasn't ready, that she wanted to focus on her career. But I wondered if maybe, deep down, she knew something I was just starting to see. Derek Thompson, 40 years old, worked in medical device sales. Charming, handsome, always knew what to say and when to say it, and always interested in money. I pulled into my driveway at 847 Oleander Street, a 3-bedroom house I'd bought in 1992 for $87,000. Worth about $420,000 now, according to Zillow. Paid off completely in 2019. Inside, I made myself a cup of Milo, hot chocolate from Ghana, the taste of home, and sat at my kitchen table with my brown leather notebook. I'd kept this notebook for 40 years, writing down important things. Recipes, prayers, important dates. Now I was going to write down everything I noticed about Derek Thompson. Because here's what I knew. I had $1,930,000 in assets. The house. My savings accounts at Chase Bank totaling $283,000. My life insurance policy through the hospital for $550,000. And my investment accounts, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, that I'd been building since 1990, now worth $677,000. I came to America with nothing. I built this wealth $1 at a time. Every extra shift, every coupon clipped, Every investment carefully researched. And I'd be damned if I let a man who married my daughter for the wrong reasons get his hands on a single penny of it. I opened my notebook to a fresh page and wrote the date. April 12th, 2023. Underneath, I wrote, Derek Thompson, Observations. Then I started remembering. 3 months earlier, I hadn't always been suspicious of Derek. When Sarah first brought him home 14 years ago, I thought he was fine, pleasant, respectful. He called me Ms. Mavis and brought wine to Sunday dinners. But people show you who they are over time. You just have to pay attention. It started small. Little comments I almost didn't notice. Like in January when Sarah mentioned she'd gotten a small raise at work, $3,200 more a year. Derek's response? That's nice, baby, but let's be real. Teacher salary is never going to get us where we need to be. Or in February when we were all having dinner at their house in Pearland, a nice 3-bedroom they'd bought in 2018 for $245,000. And Derek asked me, seemingly casual, Ms. Mavis, have you ever thought about what you're going to do with your house when you're older? I mean, it's a lot for one person to maintain. I'm 65, Derek, I'd said. Not 95. I can still maintain my own house. Of course. I just meant, planning ahead. Making sure Sarah knows what your wishes are. Estate planning and all that. Sarah had laughed it off. Derek, Mom's going to outlive all of us. But I saw something in Derek's eyes. A calculation. Like he was already counting money that wasn't his. Then came March 3rd, Sunday dinner at my house. I'd made my special jollof rice, fried plantains, and goat stew, Sarah's favorites from when she was little. We were sitting around my dining room table, and somehow the conversation turned to my work history. Mom worked at Memorial Hermann for 32 years, Sarah said proudly. Never missed a day unless I was sick. That's impressive, Derek said, spearing a piece of plantain. But tell me, Ms. Mavis, what was your peak salary, if you don't mind me asking? It was a rude question, the kind of question you don't ask. But Derek smiled like it was the most natural thing in the world. Derek, Sarah said, embarrassed. No, it's fine, I said. I looked him right in the eye. I retired in 2020 making $78,400 a year, plus benefits. Derek's eyebrows went up. Nice. Good pension too, I bet. Adequate. And this house? He looked around my dining room with its mahogany furniture I'd bought piece by piece from estate sales. You bought this back in the 90s, right? Must be worth a fortune now. I paid $87,000 in 1992. It's worth more now, yes. How much more? Derek! Sarah put down her fork. Why are you interrogating my mother about her finances? Derek laughed, that charming laugh that probably worked on everyone else. I'm not interrogating. I'm just saying Sarah deserves to know what she'll inherit someday. It's smart to plan ahead. I'm not dead yet, I said quietly. Of course not. I just meant, I know what you meant. I stood up. Sarah, baby, help me clear these dishes. In the kitchen, Sarah whispered, I'm so sorry, Mom. I don't know what's gotten into him lately. Lately? I asked. She paused, hands in the soapy water. He's been weird about money for the past year or so, always talking about investments and opportunities, always asking if I've talked to you about your estate plan. She made air quotes. It's embarrassing. Has he ever asked you directly about what I have? Sarah's silence was answer enough. That night after they left, I wrote in my notebook, March 3rd, 2023. Derek asked about house value, peak salary pension, what Sarah will inherit someday. Used phrase, planning ahead twice. Note, he's counting my money before I'm dead. But I didn't do anything yet. Not until March 20th. I was at Sarah and Derek's house, dropping off some Tupperware containers filled with food. Sarah was at work. She taught 4th grade at Shady Crest Elementary, but Derek's car was in the driveway. He'd told Sarah he had meetings all day, but apparently not. I knocked. No answer. I knew they kept a spare key under the ceramic frog by the front door. Terrible place for a key, I'd told them. So I let myself in. Derek? I called. It's Mavis. I brought some leftovers for... I heard his voice coming from the office. Low. Urgent. Yeah, I know, man. I'm working on it. I froze. No, she doesn't know anything. Sarah's clueless. Look, the old lady's got to be worth at least $1 million, maybe more. The house alone is probably $500,000. My blood went cold. I don't know how much longer. She's 65. Could be tomorrow, could be 20 years. That's why I'm saying we need to move on the Phoenix thing now. I can get the money from her eventually, but I need capital now for this opportunity. I backed toward the door, quiet as a ghost. Sarah? Nah, she won't question it. She trusts me. Besides, once the old lady kicks it, we're set. Community property, baby. Half of everything goes to Sarah, and Sarah shares everything with me. I left the Tupperware on the porch and drove home with my hands shaking on the steering wheel. That night, I wrote in my notebook, March 20th, 2023, phone call overheard. Derek referred to me as the old lady. Said I'm worth at least $1 million, maybe more. Sarah's clueless. Once the old lady kicks it, we're set. Mentioned Phoenix thing, needs capital now. Community property, plans to get my money through Sarah. Conclusion, Derek married my daughter for money. He's waiting for me to die. I sat at my kitchen table for a long time that night. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic on Highway 288. My daughter was married to a man who saw her as a lottery ticket, a man who was already planning how to spend my money before I was in the ground. And Sarah had no idea. I thought about telling her. But I knew my daughter. She loved Derek. She'd been with him for 14 years. She'd make excuses. She'd say I misunderstood. She'd say I was being paranoid. So I decided to do something else. I decided to protect her the only way I could. March 21st, 2023, 9 a.m. James Wilson's law office was in a brick building on Westheimer Road, not far from the Galleria. I'd known James for 38 years. We'd met at a Ghanaian community event in 1985, both of us fresh immigrants trying to make it in America. He'd gone to law school at night while working as a paralegal. Now he had his own practice specializing in estate planning and family law. His receptionist, Carol, smiled when I walked in. Ms. Reed, Mr. Wilson's expecting you. James stood when I entered his office. He was 62, gray hair, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. I'm here because I need to protect Sarah. I told him everything. The comments, the phone call, my suspicions about Derek. When I finished, James was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Do you have proof, beyond what you overheard? Not yet, but James, I know. A mother knows. He nodded slowly. I believe you. And even if you're wrong, which I don't think you are, it's smart to protect your assets anyway. Let me explain your options. For the next hour, James walked me through it. Wills, trusts, community property law in Texas. Here's the thing, he said. Texas is a community property state. Anything Sarah inherits while she's married could potentially become community property unless we structure it carefully. So Derek could get half? In a divorce, yes, potentially. He pulled out a legal pad. But there's a way around it. It's called an inheritance protection trust. We create an irrevocable trust with you as the grantor and Sarah as the sole beneficiary. The trust owns all your assets. When you pass, Sarah inherits the trust, not the assets directly. And the key is this. Assets in an irrevocable trust are legally separate from marital property. Derek would have zero claim. Even though they're married? Even though they're married. The money stays in the trust. Sarah can access it for her needs, but it can never be divided in a divorce. It's hers and hers alone. I felt something loosen in my chest. Can he fight it? He can try, but Mavis, I've been doing this for 35 years. If we structure this correctly, document everything properly, and establish it now, while you're healthy enough that no one can claim diminished capacity, this trust will be bulletproof. How long will it take? 2 weeks to draft everything. Another week to transfer assets. We'll need to retitle the house, move your bank accounts, change your life insurance beneficiary to the trust. It's a process. Do it, I said. James looked at me carefully. Mavis, there's something else. You said Derek mentioned a Phoenix thing, that he needs capital now. Yes. Why? Because if he's desperate for money, he might pressure Sarah, or do something reckless. You should consider preparing Sarah. Not telling her about Derek yet, but maybe updating her on your estate plan, so she knows what to expect. I thought about it. No, not yet. If I tell Sarah I've cut Derek out, she'll want to know why. And then I'll have to tell her what I suspect. And she'll defend him. I know my daughter. So what's your plan? I looked James in the eye. I want this trust to be a surprise. I want Derek to think he's getting my money. I want him to show his true colors. And when he does, I want Sarah to have irrefutable proof that I was right about him. James was quiet. Then, that's risky. I'm dying anyway. What do I have to lose? Fair point. He made a note. Okay, here's what we'll do. We create the trust immediately. Put everything in it. But we don't tell Sarah yet. When you pass, I'll handle the estate. Derek will assume it goes through normal probate, subject to community property division. And when he shows his hand, files for divorce, demands his half, whatever he does, that's when we reveal the trust. And Sarah? We'll have evidence that you knew, that you protected her, that everything you did was out of love, not control. I nodded. I want to write her a letter. Actually, 2 letters. One for after I die, one for after Derek reveals himself. I'll keep them in my safe. When the time comes, I'll give them to her. And James? I leaned forward. I want you to document everything, every conversation Derek has about money, every demand he makes, because when this goes to court, and it will go to court, I want a judge to see exactly who Derek Thompson really is. James smiled grimly. I'll start a file. Estate of Mavis Akosua Reed. This is going to be interesting. One more thing, I said. If Derek files for divorce within 2 years of my death, I want you to activate what I'm calling protection protocol. Which is? I'm going to keep a notebook. Every time Derek says something about money, I'm writing it down. Dates, exact words, everything. If he files for divorce quickly after I die, it proves I was right. He was waiting for me to die so he could get his half. I want that notebook given to Sarah as evidence. James nodded. Smart, very smart. Anything else? Yes. I want $75,000 set aside specifically for Sarah's legal fees. If this goes to court, I want her to have the best representation. Money she doesn't have to touch from the main trust. Done. We shook hands. As I was leaving, James said, Mavis, I hope you're wrong about Derek, for Sarah's sake. So do I said. But I'm not. June 15th, 2023, 6:30 p.m. I couldn't hide it anymore. The pain was getting worse. I'd lost 15 pounds. My skin had taken on a yellowish tint. Sarah had noticed and kept asking if I was okay, so I invited them to my house for dinner. Made jollof rice and chicken, lighter than usual because I couldn't stomach heavy food anymore. They arrived at 6:30. Sarah brought flowers. Derek brought wine. We sat in my living room, and I got straight to it. I need to tell you something, I said. I'm sick. I have pancreatic cancer, stage 4. Sarah's face went white. What, Mom? No. How long have you... I found out in April. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I needed time to process it. April? Sarah's voice broke. That was 2 months ago. I know, baby. I'm sorry. Derek was very still, very quiet. Then, how bad is it? Stage 4, spread to my liver. I have maybe 6 months, maybe less. Sarah started crying. She came to me, held my hands. Mom, we'll fight this. Chemotherapy, clinical trials, whatever it takes. No, baby, I'm a nurse. I know what stage 4 pancreatic cancer means. I'd rather have quality time than quantity. But Mom, Sarah, I squeezed her hands. I'm 65 years old. I've had a good life. I raised you. I saw you graduate college, become a teacher, get married. I'm at peace. Derek finally spoke. Ms. Mavis, I'm so sorry. This is... Wow. Do you need anything? Financial help with medical bills or... I'm fine, I said. I have good insurance from the hospital, and I've been careful with money over the years. I have everything I need. I watched his face carefully when I said that. Watched for the flash of interest. And there it was. Just for a second. That's good, he said. That's really good. You don't want to be a burden on Sarah during this time. Derek! Sarah looked at him, shocked. I didn't mean it like that. I just meant Miss Mavis has been independent her whole life. It's good she can stay independent now. Sarah turned back to me. I'm taking time off work. I'm going to take care of you. Honey, no. You need your job. Your students need you. I don't care about my job right now. You're my mother. Sarah, Derek said carefully, maybe we should talk about this. Your mom's right. You can't just quit your job. We have a mortgage, bills. I didn't say quit. I said take time off, family leave. Unpaid family leave. We can't afford. Derek! Sarah's voice was sharp. My mother has cancer. They looked at each other, a long moment of tension. Then Derek softened his voice. You're right. I'm sorry. Of course you should take time to be with your mom. We'll figure out the money. But I saw it. The flash of annoyance. The calculation. He was thinking, she might quit her job. That's money we'll lose. Money we need. Sarah stayed late that night. After Derek left, he said he had an early meeting, we sat in my kitchen drinking tea. I'm scared, Mom, she said. I know, baby. What am I going to do without you? You're going to be fine. You're stronger than you think. She cried in my arms like she did when she was little, and I held her and thought, I'm going to make sure you're protected, even if you hate me for it at first, even if you don't understand. I'm going to make sure Derek Thompson never gets a penny of what I've built. Later, after Sarah left, I opened my notebook, June 15th, 2023, told them about cancer, Sarah's reaction, immediate tears, wanted to take time off work to care for me, love and panic, Derek's reaction. First question, how bad is it? Calculating timeline. Second statement, do you need financial help? Fishing for info. When I said I have money, visible interest. You don't want to be a burden on Sarah. Wants me to not need financial help from them. Complained about Sarah taking unpaid leave. Worried about their money. Said we'll figure out the money, but face showed annoyance. Conclusion. Derek is already calculating. He wants me to die quickly, without draining their resources, so Sarah can inherit maximum amount. I closed the notebook. 3 weeks later, I finished setting up the trust with James. Every asset transferred, every document signed, every legal protection in place. I wrote 2 letters to Sarah, sealed them, gave them to James with specific instructions. And then I did something else. I started recording our Sunday dinners, a small digital recorder in my purse. Every conversation where Derek mentioned money, every comment about my health, every question about my assets, evidence. Because I knew in my bones, that Derek Thompson was going to show his true face the moment I died. And when he did, I wanted Sarah to have proof that her mother wasn't paranoid. Her mother was right. July 2023 to September 2023, Sarah moved into my house on July 8, 2023. She'd taken a leave of absence from Shady Crest Elementary, 3 months, unpaid. Derek hadn't been happy about it. I'd overheard them arguing in my driveway when they thought I was asleep. Sarah, we have a $2,100 mortgage payment, plus your car note, plus, my mother is dying, Derek. I know that, but you're losing $4,300 a month in salary. That's $12,900 over 3 months. We can't, then we'll dip into savings. What savings? You know we've been living paycheck to paycheck since I invested in the Arizona venture. Arizona venture. That was new. I made a mental note. Sarah's voice went cold. Then I guess you'll have to work harder. She'd walked away, and Derek had stood there in my driveway, jaw clenched, before getting in his Mercedes GLE, a $67,000 car they'd bought last year, and driving off too fast. Inside, I'd added to my notebook, July 8, 2023, argument overheard. Derek complained about Sarah's unpaid leave. $12,900 over 3 months. Mentioned Arizona venture. Apparently invested money, living paycheck to paycheck. Drives $67,000 Mercedes but claims no money. More concerned about his finances than my dying The next 3 months followed a pattern. Sarah stayed with me during the week. She cooked, cleaned, helped me to the bathroom when I got too weak, held my hand during the bad pain, read to me from the Bible and from the Chinua Achebe novels I loved. Derek came by every evening after work. He'd kiss Sarah's forehead, ask how I was feeling, then disappear into my spare bedroom with his laptop. Work calls, he'd say. You know how it is. But the walls in my house are thin. Built in 1987, before they cared about sound insulation. I heard everything. August 2nd, 2023, 8:47 p.m. I was in my bedroom, supposedly sleeping. Sarah was downstairs doing laundry. Derek was in the spare room, door closed. His voice drifted through the wall, low, urgent. Yeah, man, I know I owe you. I'm good for it. Pause. Look, it's complicated, okay? My mother-in-law is sick, like really sick. Couple months max. My heart clenched. No, I can't ask Sarah for money right now. It would look bad. Her mom's dying, you know? Pause. Longer this time. The house alone is worth at least $400,000, probably more. Plus she's got savings, life insurance, investments. I'm telling you, Mike, once this is over, we're looking at close to $2 million, maybe more. $2 million, he'd rounded up. Community property, baby. Texas law. Half goes to Sarah, and what's Sarah's is mine. Pause. I don't know, man. Doctor said 6 to 9 months back in April. It's August now. Could be any day. Could be 2 more months. But she's going downhill fast. You saw how she looked last time you were here. Wait, Mike had been to my house? When? Just give me until November, okay? If I don't have your $35,000 by Thanksgiving, I'll figure something out. But I'm telling you, this is a sure thing. The old lady's loaded. Click. The call ended. I lay in my bed, staring at the ceiling, tears sliding down my temples into my hair. $35,000 in debt. To someone named Mike. He'd brought this Mike to my house. Let him see how sick I was. Used my dying body as collateral for a loan. I reached for the notebook on my nightstand. Hand shaking, I wrote, August 2nd, 2023, 8:47 p.m. Phone call overheard. Derek owes someone named Mike $35,000. Said couple months max about my life expectancy. The old lady's loaded. Referred to me as collateral. Estimated my assets at close to $2 million. Community property. What's Sarah's is mine. Promised Mike $35,000 by Thanksgiving. Mike has seen me. Derek brought creditor to assess how close to death I am. She's going downhill fast. Sounded hopeful. Conclusion. Derek is in debt. He's counting on my death to pay it off. He's using my life expectancy to negotiate payment deadlines. The next morning, I called James Wilson from my cell phone while Sarah was at the grocery store. James, I need you to add something to the protection protocol. What is it? I told him about the phone call, about Mike, about the $35,000. Mavis, this is important. Do you know Mike's last name? No, but Derek mentioned the Arizona venture to Sarah a few weeks ago. Maybe it's connected. I'll have my investigator look into it. If Derek owes money to the wrong people, that could complicate things after you pass. How? If he's in deep enough debt, he might do something desperate. Might try to pressure Sarah into giving him money before the estate is settled. You need to prepare her. She won't believe me. Not yet. She loves him. Then we make sure she has support. Who does she trust besides you? I thought about it. Her best friend, Rachel Martinez. They've been friends since college. Rachel never liked Derek. Good. Give me Rachel's contact information. When the time comes, I'll reach out to her. Make sure Sarah has someone in her corner. Thank you, James. Mavis, how are you feeling? Really? I looked down at my body. I'd lost 43 pounds. My arms were like sticks. My skin was the color of mustard. I'm dying, I said. But not fast enough for Derek. James was quiet. Then, hang on as long as you can. We need everything documented. September 18th, 2023, 6 weeks before I died, I wrote the letters. Sarah had gone to their house in Pearland to pick up more clothes. Derek was at work. I was alone in my room with my brown leather notebook, my favorite pen, a Parker Sonnet I'd bought myself when I retired, and 3 pieces of my good stationery. Cream-colored paper with a border of small roses. I'd bought it years ago for special occasions. This was the most special occasion there would ever be. Letter 1, to Sarah. For immediately after I die. I dated it September 18th, 2023, and began, My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and I imagine you're heartbroken. I'm so sorry, baby girl. I'm sorry I had to leave you. I'm sorry you had to watch me fade away. I'm sorry for every moment of pain this has caused you. But I need you to remember something. I didn't leave you alone. I left you prepared. You are stronger than you know. You've always been strong. Even when you were little, falling off your bike and getting right back on. Even when those girls bullied you in 8th grade and you stood up to them. Even when your daddy died and we had to figure out how to keep going. You're going to have to be strong again now. Things are going to happen that you don't expect. People are going to show you who they really are. And when that happens, I need you to remember, I loved you enough to protect you. Even when I knew you might not understand right away. Trust James Wilson. He has instructions. He has documents. He knows what to do. And baby, don't let anyone make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. Not anyone. All my love, Mama. I sealed it in an envelope and wrote, Sarah, letter 1, open immediately, on the front. Letter 2, to Sarah, for after Derek shows his true nature. My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, something has happened. Derek has done something. Filed for divorce, demanded money, shown you a side of himself you didn't know existed. And you're probably confused. Maybe angry at him, maybe angry at me, maybe both. I need to tell you something. I saw it coming. I paused, pen hovering over paper. This was the hard part. Telling your daughter her husband is not who she thinks he is. For the past year, I've been watching Derek closely. Not because I wanted to find something wrong, but because a mother notices things. Small comments, strange questions, phone calls he thought I couldn't hear. In my brown leather notebook, the one James will give you along with this letter, you'll find dated entries. Every time Derek asked about my money, every time he calculated my worth, every time he said something that made me wonder if he loved you or for what I would leave behind. Sarah, I overheard Derek on the phone, multiple times, talking about my assets, saying once the old lady kicks it, and we're set, and close to $2 million. He owes money, at least $35,000 to someone named Mike. He used my dying body as collateral for a loan, promising he'd pay it back with your inheritance. I hope I'm wrong about all of this. I prayed I was wrong. But a mother knows. And so I did the only thing I could do. I protected you. I explained the trust, how it worked, why I'd done it. This isn't about controlling you from beyond the grave, baby. This is about giving you freedom. Freedom to leave Derek if you need to. Freedom to start over. Freedom to say no to someone who sees you as a meal ticket. The money in that trust is yours. Not marital property, not community property. Yours. Derek can't touch it. Ever. Even if you stay married to him, which I hope you don't, that money stays separate. You might hate me for this right now. You might think I manipulated things, that I didn't trust your judgment, that I should have told you what I suspected. But Sarah, how could I tell you? You love him. You would have defended him. And then when I died, you would have been trapped, married to a man who wanted your money, with no way out. Now you have a way out. Now you have choices. Use them wisely. I love you more than you will ever know. Mama, I sealed this letter and wrote Sarah, letter 2, open after Derek's betrayal, on the front. Letter 3, to James Wilson. Instructions. James, thank you for everything, for 38 years of friendship, for helping me navigate this difficult situation, for being there when I needed wisdom. Here are my final instructions. 1. Do not tell Sarah about the trust until after Derek has shown his true colors. Let him think he's getting community property rights. Let him reveal himself. 2. Give Sarah letter 1 immediately after my death. She needs to know I prepared things, but not the details yet. 3. Protection protocol. A. If Derek files for divorce, asks Sarah for money, or makes any move to claim his half of my estate within 24 months of my death, activate the following. Give Sarah letter 2. Give Sarah my brown leather notebook. Give Sarah the audio recordings I've made. They're in the fireproof box in my closet, labeled medical records. Set up immediate meeting to reveal the trust. Use the $75,000 I've set aside to represent Sarah fully for. Protection protocol. B. If Derek contests Dennis the trust in court, release everything. The notebook, the recordings, the timeline of his questions about my money, character witness statements from Pastor Linda Williams, Rachel Martinez, and anyone else who saw his true nature. Make sure the judge understands that I created this trust specifically to protect Sarah from a predatory spouse. 5. Watch for Derek owing money. He mentioned Mike and $35,000, an Arizona venture. He may be in deeper debt than Sarah knows. If he pressures her for money before the estate is settled, that's your trigger to reveal everything. 6. Take care of my baby girl. She's going to be devastated by losing me, by losing her marriage, if it comes to that. Please make sure she has support. Her friend Rachel, Pastor Linda, the church community. Don't let her go through this alone. James, I'm trusting you with my daughter's future. Please don't let Derek Thompson destroy what I spent 40 years building. With gratitude and love, Mavis Akoshwa Reed. I sealed this letter and wrote James Wilson, confidential instructions on the front. As I was sealing the third envelope, I heard footsteps on the stairs. Mom? Sarah's voice. Quickly, I slid the envelopes under my pillow. Sarah appeared in my doorway, grocery bags in hand. I got your Milo and those ginger biscuits you like from the African market on Hillcroft. Thank you, baby. She set the bags down and came to sit on my bed. Her eyes went to the Parker Sonnet pen in my hand. What were you writing? Just thoughts, things I want to remember. Can I read them? Not yet. Someday. She looked at me for a long moment, then, Mom, are you scared? Of dying? No, I'm ready. I'm not ready. I took her hand. I know, baby, but you're going to be okay. You're going to be more than okay. How can you be so sure? Because I know you, and I know I raised you right. And I know... I paused. I know I've protected you from the mistake you don't even know you made. You know what? I know you're loved. So very loved. Sarah laid her head on my shoulder, and I stroked her hair like I did when she was little. After she left to put away groceries, I took the 3 letters downstairs and put them in a large manila envelope. On the front, I wrote, For James Wilson, urgent, deliver as instructed. The next day, when Derek drove me to what would be my last doctor's appointment, I had him stop at James's office. I need to drop something off, I said. Can you help me inside? He did, one arm supporting me because I could barely walk now. In James's office, I handed him the envelope. Derek was in the waiting room. Everything's in there, I whispered. James took it. I'll guard this with my life. Take care of her. I promise. October 12th, 2023. I died on October 12th, 2023 at 3:47 a.m. Sarah was holding my hand. Derek was asleep on the couch downstairs. He'd said he was too tired to stay up all night, even though Sarah had begged him. My last words were, Sarah, James Wilson, trust him, love you. And then I was gone. The funeral was on October 15th at Greater Mount Zion Baptist Church on Old Spanish Trail. Sarah moved through it in a fog. The visitation, the service. Pastor Linda Williams's eulogy about a woman of wisdom and foresight. The burial at Forest Park, Lawndale. Derek was beside her the whole time, holding her hand, dabbing her tears, playing the devoted husband. But Sarah noticed things, even through her grief. Derek checked his phone during the eulogy. Twice. At the burial, when Pastor Linda said Mavis planned for everything, even her death, Derek's jaw tightened. At the repast, held in the church fellowship hall, where 147 people came to pay their respects, Derek pulled Sarah aside. Baby, I know this isn't the time, but did your mom mention anything about her will or her estate planning? Sarah stared at him. My mother died 3 days ago. I know, and I'm sorry, but we need to know what we're dealing with. Financially. There are probate timelines, and if she had property or accounts, we need to... Derek! Her voice was ice. Not now. But Sarah, I said not now. She walked away, and Derek stood there, frustrated. Rachel Martinez, Sarah's best friend since their University of Houston days, had watched the whole exchange. She came up to Sarah, put an arm around her. How are you holding up? I don't know. Everything feels... wrong. What do you mean? Sarah shook her head. Nothing. I'm just tired. But Rachel had seen the look on Derek's face, the cold calculation when he'd asked about Mavis's money, and she made a decision. She was going to watch Derek Thompson very, very carefully. October 16th to 18th, 2023, Day 1, October 16th. Sarah was at her mother's house on Oleander Street, going through Mavis's things, crying over every photograph, every piece of clothing that still smelled like her mother's perfume. Derek found her in Mavis's bedroom at 11:23 a.m. Sarah, we need to talk about practical matters. Like what? Sarah didn't look up from the photo album in her lap. Like the estate, your mom's house, her accounts. We need to start making calls, find out what she had. Derek, I buried my mother yesterday. I know, baby, but the longer we wait, the more complicated this gets. Probate has timelines, and we need to know what's in her accounts so we can what? Sarah's voice rose. So we can spend it? Count it? Divide it up? That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Derek sat down on Mavis's bed. Sarah, I'm trying to help. You don't know anything about estates or probate or legal processes. I'm just trying to take some of the burden off you. Sarah looked at him. Really looked at him. When had his concern started sounding like impatience? I'll call a lawyer when I'm ready, she said. Derek's jaw clenched. Fine, but don't wait too long. Day 2, October 17th. Derek showed up at Mavis's house at 2 p.m. with Tyler Bennett. Tyler was an estate lawyer Derek knew from his medical device sales job. Mid-40s, expensive suit, shark eyes. Sarah, this is Tyler. He's going to help us navigate your mom's estate. I didn't ask for help. I know, but Tyler's doing this as a favor. Right, Tyler? Tyler smiled. I just want to make sure everything's handled properly. Mrs. Reed, your mother, had significant assets. The house alone is worth over $400,000. Add in savings, life insurance, any investments, you're probably looking at close to $2 million. Sarah felt sick. How do you know that? Derek mentioned the details, and honestly, Mrs. Thompson, that's a substantial estate. In Texas, that becomes community property, which means half is mine, Derek interrupted. Legally, Texas community property law. Sarah looked between them. You're already dividing up my mother's money? She's been dead for 5 days. Sarah, I'm just trying to protect our interests, Derek said. Our interests? This is my mother, my inheritance, which makes it our money, Derek said calmly. That's how marriage works. Tyler jumped in. What Derek means is, legally speaking, any inheritance you receive during marriage is subject to community property division. It's Texas law. Sarah stood up. Get out. Sarah, both of you, get out of my mother's house. They left, but Derek's words echoed in Sarah's head. That's how marriage works. Day 3, October 18th. The bombshell. Derek came to Mavis's house at 8 a.m. Sarah had spent the night there, unable to sleep in their Pearland house. Too many memories of Derek asking about money. Too many conversations that suddenly felt poisoned. Derek found her in the kitchen, drinking coffee from her mother's favorite mug. Sarah, he sat down across from her. I need to be honest with you. Something in his tone made her blood run cold. I've been unhappy for a long time. Sarah's hand froze on the mug. What? Our marriage. I don't think it's working. I think we've grown apart. The world tilted. You've been so focused on your mom for the past year, which I understand I do, but I've felt like a ghost in my own marriage, and I've realized I need something different. Derek, my mother just died. I know, and I'm sorry about the timing, but I can't keep pretending. I think we should separate. The word hung in the air like poison gas. Separate, Sarah repeated. Maybe permanently. I don't know. I just know I can't do this anymore. Sarah's grief transformed into something else, something sharp and clear and furious. How long have you been planning this? What? How long, Derek? A week? A month? Since my mother got diagnosed? Sarah, that's not fair. Not fair? You waited until 3 days after her funeral to tell me you want to leave. That's not fair. Derek stood up. I'm not the bad guy here. I supported you through your mom's illness. I was there. I showed up. But I can't sacrifice my happiness forever. 3 days, Derek. She's been in the ground for 3 days. And we still have practical matters to handle. The estate, there it is! Sarah stood too, knocking over her coffee. The estate. That's what this is about, isn't it? You waited to make sure I'd inherit first. That's crazy. Is it? Because Tyler seemed to know an awful lot about my mother's assets yesterday. Almost like you'd been discussing it. Derek's face went cold. Fine. You want the truth? Yes. We need to split your mother's estate fairly. We're married. Community property. I'm entitled to half. You're entitled? Yes, I am. Texas law. Look it up. You son of a… Sarah. His voice was calm, terrifyingly calm. I've already filed. The divorce papers are at the house. You can sign them, and we can do this amicably. Split everything 50-50. Or you can fight me, and we can spend months in court, wasting money on lawyers. Your choice. He walked out. Sarah stood in her mother's kitchen, surrounded by her mother's things, and felt the floor drop out from under her world. October 19th, 2023, 10 a.m. Sarah's hands were shaking as she dialed the number on the card her mother had left on the kitchen counter. A card she'd only noticed this morning, tucked under the sugar bowl with a sticky note in Mavis's handwriting. Call James. He'll explain everything. Mama. Wilson and Associates Law Firm. My name is Sarah Thompson. Sarah Reed Thompson. My mother was Mavis Reed. She passed away. And I found a card that said I should call James Wilson. Mrs. Thompson, yes, Mr. Wilson has been expecting your call. Can you come in today? James Wilson's office looked the same as it had when Sarah was a child and had come here with her mother once or twice. Dark wood, leather chairs, diplomas on the wall. But James looked older, sadder. Sarah, he stood and came around his desk. I'm so sorry about your mother. Mavis was one of the finest people I've ever known. Thank you. Sarah's voice cracked. Mr. Wilson, I don't know why I'm here. Derek filed for divorce 3 days after Mom's funeral, and he says he's entitled to half of Mom's estate, and I don't understand what's happening. James gestured to a chair. Sit down, Sarah. There's a lot I need to tell you. He opened a safe behind his desk and pulled out a manila envelope. From it, he took a cream-colored envelope with Sarah's name on it. Your mother left you a letter. She asked me to give it to you after she passed. Sarah took it with trembling hands. Broke the seal. Read her mother's words. Trust James Wilson. He has instructions. He has documents. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. When she finished, tears were streaming down her face. What does this mean? What instructions? James pulled out more documents. Sarah, your mother came to see me on March 21st of this year. She told me she'd been diagnosed with cancer, and she told me she was worried about Derek. Worried how? That he was more interested in her money than in you. Sarah's face flushed. That's not… Derek loves me. Does he? Because he filed for divorce 72 hours after your mother died. That was the trigger your mother predicted. What trigger? James opened a folder. Sarah, your mother created something called an inheritance protection trust. Every single asset she owned, the house, her savings, her life insurance, her investments, all of it was transferred into this trust 6 months ago. You are the sole beneficiary. I don't understand. It means the money is yours. Only yours, not marital property, not community property. Derek has zero legal claim to any of it. Not 1 penny. The room spun. But Texas law. Community property. Derek said, Derek is wrong. Assets placed in an irrevocable trust before inheritance are not subject to community property division. Your mother made sure of that. She knew, Sarah whispered. She knew he would do this. James pulled out another envelope. She left you a second letter. She told me to give it to you when Derek showed his true nature. I think now qualifies. This envelope was marked, Letter 2, open after Derek's betrayal. Sarah read it. With every word, her mother's voice echoed in her head. The observations, the phone calls, the notebook entries. Once the old lady kicks it, we're set. $35,000 to someone named Mike. Close to $2 million. When she finished, Sarah was crying so hard she could barely breathe. She tried to protect me. She did protect you. How much? Sarah looked up. How much did she leave me? James slid a document across the desk. The house at 847 Oleander Street, valued at $420,000. Savings accounts totaling $283,000. Life insurance policy for $550,000. Investment accounts worth $677,000. Total, $1,930,000. Sarah stared at the number. And Derek gets? Nothing. The only assets subject to division are your joint marital assets, your house in Pearland, joint savings. That's it. He's going to fight this. Let him. Your mother anticipated that too. James pulled out a brown leather notebook. She kept records. Every conversation, every comment, every phone call she overheard. Dates, times, exact words. He opened it to a random page. Sarah saw her mother's handwriting. August 2nd, 2023. Couple months max, once the old lady kicks it. $35,000 by Thanksgiving. Oh my God. There's more. James pulled out a small digital recorder. She recorded your Sunday dinners, every time Derek asked about money, every calculation he made. Sarah put her head in her hands. Your mother also set aside $75,000 specifically for your legal fees. She wanted you to have the best representation if this went to court. She thought of everything. She loved you. That's what love does. It protects. October 23rd, 2023, 2 p.m. Derek sat in Tyler Bennett's office, confident and relaxed. Sarah had finally agreed to meet with lawyers to discuss the estate settlement. Tyler had assured him it was open and shut. Community property, easy split. Derek would walk away with close to $1 million. Enough to pay off Mike. Enough to invest in 3 new ventures Tyler had lined up. Enough to start over. The door opened. Sarah walked in with James Wilson. Derek's confidence flickered. Why is he here? Mr. Wilson is representing Mrs. Thompson, Tyler said smoothly. That's fine. We can still discuss terms amicably. They all sat down. Tyler began. We're here to discuss the division of assets from the estate of Mavis Reed. According to Texas community property law, Mrs. Thompson's inheritance is subject to equal division between spouses. We propose— Actually, James interrupted, there's been a misunderstanding. Tyler frowned. What misunderstanding? James pulled out a document. Mrs. Reed did not leave her assets to Sarah through a traditional will. She created an inheritance protection trust on April 3rd, 2023. The trust was fully funded on April 28th, 2023. Sarah is the sole beneficiary. The color drained from Derek's face. What does that mean? He asked, though his voice suggested he already knew. It means, James said calmly, that the assets never belonged to Sarah to become community property. They belong to the trust, and the trust explicitly excludes spousal claims. That can't be legal. It's completely legal and ironclad. I've been practicing estate law for 37 years. I've never lost a case involving an irrevocable trust. Tyler was speed reading the document. His face told Derek everything he needed to know. This is bullsh. Derek stood up. That old woman had no right. Watch your mouth, Sarah said quietly. Everyone looked at her. Don't you dare disrespect my mother. Not now, not ever. Derek's voice rose. She manipulated this. She turned you against me. No. Sarah stood too. She saw who you really were. She heard you on the phone talking about how you couldn't wait for her to die. She heard you call her the old lady and talk about close to $2 million and promise to pay off your debts with my inheritance. Derek's face went white. You can't prove— James pulled out the brown leather notebook and the digital recorder. Actually, we can. Mrs. Reed kept meticulous records, including audio recordings of you discussing her assets, discussing her life expectancy, discussing your plans to claim your half the moment she died. We'll fight this, Tyler said quickly. We'll contest the trust. We'll argue she wasn't of sound mind. She set up the trust 6 months before her cancer diagnosis, James said, when she was in perfect health. We have medical records, witness statements. Her doctor will testify she was completely lucid. We'll argue undue influence. From whom? Me? I've known Mavis for 38 years. I helped her with basic estate planning for decades. This trust is no different from hundreds I've created for clients. Good luck arguing that. Tyler closed his folder. He looked at Derek. You should know, this will cost you $40,000 to $60,000 in legal fees to fight, and you'll lose. But I'm married to her, Derek shouted. I'm entitled to something. You're entitled, James said coldly, to half of the marital assets you and Sarah accumulated together. Your joint home equity in Pearland, approximately $90,000. Your joint savings account, $6,200. That's it. $6,000? Derek's voice cracked. Sarah, this is insane. We've been married for 12 years. And you filed for divorce 3 days after my mother's funeral, Sarah said. 3 days. She wasn't even cold in the ground, and you were already calculating how to split her money. I loved you. No, you loved what you thought I'd inherit. My mother saw that. She tried to protect me, and thank God she did. Derek looked at Tyler. Tyler shook his head slowly. I can't help you. The trust is valid. Derek grabbed his briefcase and headed for the door. Before he left, he turned back to Sarah. You're going to regret this. I know things about you, about your precious mother. If you're threatening my client, James said, standing, I'll have you arrested. Derek left. In the silence that followed, Sarah started shaking. James put a hand on her shoulder. You did good. He looked so... Sarah trailed off. Desperate? That's because he is. Your mother mentioned he owes someone named Mike $35,000, plus whatever other debts he's hiding. The Arizona venture, Sarah whispered. We're looking into it. But Sarah, you're safe now. The trust protects you. He can't touch it. Ever. October 28th to November 15th, 2023. Derek didn't give up easily. He showed up at Mavis's house where Sarah was staying. Sarah, please. I made a mistake. The divorce, I was grieving too. Your mom's death affected me more than I realized. Can we go to counseling? Sarah looked at him through the screen door. You owe Mike $35,000. You told him you'd pay him back with my mother's money. You called her the old lady and said you were counting down the days until she died. I never... How do you... She heard you, Derek. She heard everything, and she recorded it. So no. We're not going to counseling. We're getting divorced. Tyler Bennett filed a motion to contest the trust, arguing Mavis wasn't of sound mind due to her cancer medication. James Wilson produced Dr. Rebecca Peterson's affidavit. Mrs. Reed was completely lucid when she created the trust, before her diagnosis. Medical records showing the trust was created 6 weeks before any cancer treatment began. Testimony from 3 colleagues who worked with Mavis and could attest to her sharp mind. The motion was denied. Derek called Sarah. Look, I know I screwed up, but I have an opportunity. A tech startup in Austin. My friend Brian is looking for investors. If you loan me $150,000, just a loan, I'll pay you back double in a year. We can both benefit. No, Derek. Sarah, your mom would want you to help family. You're not family anymore. And my mother specifically protected me from giving you money. She saw this coming. She poisoned you against me. No, she loved me enough to protect me from someone who saw me as an ATM. Click. Sarah hung up. December 10th, 2023. The courtroom was small. Judge Patricia Reeves presided. Derek sat with Tyler Bennett. Sarah sat with James Wilson. The judge reviewed the settlement terms. Mr. Thompson receives his 2022 Mercedes GLE, valued at $51,000 with outstanding loan of $34,000. His personal belongings, 50% of joint savings account, $3,100. 50% of home equity if the Perlin property is sold, approximately $90,000. Total net assets, approximately $110,100. Mrs. Thompson receives her 2019 Honda CR-V fully paid. Her personal belongings, 50% of joint savings, $3,100. Option to buy out Mr. Thompson's share of the Perlin home or sell and split equity. The entirety of her inheritance from her mother held in trust, $1,930,000. The judge looked at Derek. Mr. Thompson, your attorney has filed 3 motions to contest the Inheritance Protection Trust. All 3 have been denied. Do you understand that this trust was created lawfully and is not subject to division? Yes, Your Honor, Derek said bitterly. And do you understand that had you not filed for divorce 3 days after Mrs. Reed's funeral, you might have maintained a relationship with your wife that could have benefited you both? Derek said nothing. I'll take that as a yes. The divorce is granted. You have 30 days to vacate the marital home if Mrs. Thompson chooses to buy your equity share. Any questions? No, Your Honor. Sarah walked out of the courthouse into December sunshine. Rachel Martinez was waiting on the steps. It's over, Sarah said. How do you feel? Free, and so grateful for my mother. 1 year later, Sarah woke up at 6 a.m. in her mother's house on Oleander Street. She'd bought out Derek's half of the Perland house, sold it for $298,000, and moved into her childhood home. She'd renovated the kitchen, painted the bedrooms, planted flowers in her mother's garden. It felt like home. It felt like peace. She made coffee in her mother's favorite pot and sat on the back porch as the sun rose. Her life had changed in ways she couldn't have imagined. The Mavis Reed Scholarship Fund was now in its first year. 5 students, all first-generation college students planning to study nursing, had received full scholarships worth $20,000 each. Sarah had stood at the ceremony in September and told them about her mother. About a woman who came to America with $400 and built a fortune through hard work and smart planning. About a woman who protected her daughter even from beyond the grave. There hadn't been a dry eye in the room. The community center was scheduled to open next month. Sarah had converted the garage and part of the house into meeting space. There would be financial literacy classes for women, after-school tutoring for kids, a food pantry. Her mother's legacy, alive and growing. Personally, Sarah was healing. She'd been in therapy for 8 months, processing the grief of losing her mother, processing the betrayal of her marriage, learning to trust herself again. She'd published a children's book, The Wisest Woman, illustrated with pictures of a grandmother teaching her granddaughter about money, love, and protection. The dedication read, "For Mavis Reed, who saw what I couldn't and loved me enough to save me." It was selling well. Small press, but good reviews. And there was someone new. Not a boyfriend exactly, but James Carter taught 5th grade at Shady Crest Elementary. They'd started having lunch together in the teacher's lounge. He made her laugh. He never asked about her inheritance. "Take your time," he'd said when she told him she wasn't ready for anything serious. "I'm not going anywhere." Her mother would have liked him. Sarah's phone buzzed. A text from Rachel. "Pastor Linda's asking if you can speak at Women's Day next month. Share your story." Sarah smiled and typed back. "Tell her yes. October 12th, 2024. Evening." After dinner, jollof rice and chicken, her mother's recipe, Sarah sat in the living room with Mavis's brown leather notebook. She'd read it cover to cover 3 times now. But tonight, on the anniversary of her mother's death, she wanted to read the last entry, the one written the night before Mavis died. She turned to the final page. October 11th, 2023, 11:47 p.m. My last night. The pain is bad, even with the morphine, but my mind is clear. Dr. Peterson said that happens sometimes. Clarity at the end. Sarah is asleep in the chair next to my bed. My beautiful girl. She looks so tired. Dark circles under her eyes. She's lost weight caring for me. Derek came by earlier. Stayed for 20 minutes. Asked again about my arrangements. Said he wanted to make sure Sarah wouldn't be burdened with complicated paperwork. I almost laughed. He thinks he's being subtle. After he left, I heard him on the phone in the driveway. "Few days, maybe a week max. Then we're golden." Golden, that's the word he used. My death equals golden. I should be angry, but I'm just sad. Sad that Sarah gave 12 years to a man who sees her as a transaction. Sad that she'll hurt when she finds out. Sad that I won't be there to hold her while she cries. But I'll be there in another way. Every penny in that trust is me saying, "You deserve better." Every protection James put in place is me saying, "I've got you, baby." Every document, every recording, every notebook entry is me saying, "I saw this coming and I made sure you'd be okay." They say you can't take it with you, but you can leave it behind in a way that protects the people you love. I spent 40 years building this security. Every double shift at the hospital, every coupon clipped, every dollar invested. Not so I could die rich, but so Sarah could live free. Free from a man who married her for the wrong reasons. Free to start over. Free to build the life she deserves. Derek will show his true face soon. And when he does, my baby will have choices. She can leave. She can say no. She doesn't have to stay with someone who valued my death more than her happiness. The money isn't the real gift. Freedom is. If you're reading this, Sarah, and I hope you are, it means James gave you the notebook. It means Derek showed you who he really is. And it means you're free. Don't waste that freedom, baby girl. Don't waste a single day. Live boldly. Love carefully. Trust your instincts. And know that every step you take toward your real happiness, I'm walking right beside you. I came to America with $400 in my pocket and a 2-year-old daughter on my hip. They said I'd never make it. That single mothers couldn't succeed. That immigrants couldn't build wealth. I proved them all wrong. And I made sure my daughter would never have to prove anything to anyone, especially not to a man who counted her inheritance before her mother was in the ground. My last gift to you isn't money, Sarah. It's freedom. Use it wisely. All my love. Across the veil and back. Mama P.S. Even in winter, spring is coming. Ghanaian proverb from my grandmother. Sarah closed the notebook, tears streaming down her face. The last page had a pressed flower from her mother's garden, a yellow African daisy, symbol of new beginnings. Underneath, in Mavis's handwriting, plant this, watch it grow. That's what I want for you. The next morning, Sarah planted the flower in her mother's garden, now her garden. As she watered it, she whispered, "Thank you, Mama, for everything, for seeing what I couldn't see, for protecting me when I didn't know I needed protection, for loving me enough to let me be angry at you for a while." She stood, brushed dirt from her hands. The sun was rising over Houston. A new day, a new year, a new life. Free. Her phone buzzed. James Carter. "Coffee this morning? I found a great spot near Herman Park." Sarah smiled and typed, "Yes, I'd like that." She looked back at the house, her mother's house, now hers, at the garden with its new flower, at the life her mother had built and protected and passed on. "I'm okay, Mama," she said to the morning air. "I'm more than okay. I'm exactly where you wanted me to be." Somewhere, somehow, Mavis Reed was smiling. This story is dedicated to every parent who has ever worried about their child's future, to every mother who has seen danger their children couldn't see, to every person who has ever been protected by love that reached beyond the grave. Mavis Reed is fictional, but her wisdom is real. Protect your children. Document everything. Trust your instincts. And remember that sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is the freedom to walk away from people who don't deserve them. If this story touched you, please share it. Elder financial abuse is real. Predatory spouses are real. And the power of generational wealth, properly protected, can save lives. In memory of all the wise women who saw the truth and acted on it, rest in power, mothers. Your protection lives on.